Hello and welcome to the Casual Man of Leisure edition. I am still on holidays and could not be bothered to put clothes on live stream. So at this early stage, it looks like the only people who see this introduction will be people who watch this stream back. So hello to you, faithful watcher backers, and I hope you're well. Yeah, so here we are, almost through the first week of 2021, and I don't know, it's bloody same so far, really. It's just, all right, whatever. See, it's the fifth. It's the fifth everywhere in the world. It's just very early in the morning for the fifth for some people. Just thinking, some people thought in a different hemisphere might think I'm going a bit gung-ho, saying the week's almost over. But the end of the fifth day for me, I think that is perfectly reasonable to say. First week, yeah, almost done. And yeah, nothing to set it apart from 2020 so far. It's ridiculous. Good evening to you, Raiders. Dear. I guess, and as just seeing your icon, Raiders, reminds me, I guess we're local time, what was it, like a day and a half to 2 days away from 46 being formally ratified by the US Congress. And what are Trump and his various assorted fuckwits going to do when that event passes? What lunacy will they latch on to next? Because it just doesn't fucking stop. Shannon, hello and good evening to you. I'm doing fine, thank you very much. Just chilling out, relaxing. Watched a fair bit of TV in the last couple of days, actually. That's how relaxing. And I started playing a new video game today, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Finally arrived. My daughter got it for me for Christmas, but there was a slight delay in the delivery. It arrived this week. And I played it today. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Yakuza games, but there's always a big setup, at least the recent ones. And I swear to God, I 3-4 hours today, at least 3 hours. I didn't really time it, but it was at least 3 hours. More than 95% of that time is just people talking. Like, it's not gameplay. It's dialogue, exposition. I'm hoping it's past most of that now, and the character's found himself where he's found himself, and it's going to turn into gameplay. But it's really fucking weird how long the dialogue heavy stuff runs for at the start. Raiders, hopefully SDNY are waiting for him with a fresh set of cuffs. I'm not sure what that acronym is. I always assume NY is New York, but I don't know what SD is. Shannon, you got roped into playing the forest with a few friends. Well, okay, that does sound like fun. What I like about my limited exposure to Yakuza games is, along with the action and the fights, they're very silly. They're very silly. And I hear this one, Like a Dragon, may be even more silly and more fun than usual. So I'm looking forward to potentially discovering that. Oh, right, it's the Southern District of New York. Is that where he's facing state charges? I mean, dude's such a fucking criminal. It would be trivially easy to bring from multiple states to bring legal cases against him because he is a fucking criminal. Safa, good evening to you. Oh, I love that as the description, Shannon, for The Forest. It's a thriller survival game. Think Cannibals meets Minecraft. That is a fascinating description of a game. So, yes, because it's just a slightly open world. It's much more constrained than a lot of the open world games are, but it's a slightly open world adventure RPG, and this version of it actually has turn-based combat, which is a bit weird for me. I don't play RPGs, so the turn-based combat's a bit weird for me. Shieldsy, I heard that rumor that Trump thought he could fly out of the US the day before his official end of term, so he couldn't be arrested. He won't be going to Scotland because of COVID. Scotland's just locked down and no international flights in. Yes. Oh, yeah, I saw you cheering that one on, Safa. People in the border bubble, New South Wales, Victoria, don't need a special permit to go into Victoria, which is nice. I mean, because the trouble zone is Sydney, west of the Blue Mountains, and up the north and south coast. Country New South Wales, so far, is not an issue. Be waiting with bated breath for the next 2 or so weeks, though. And that goes for Victoria as well. It's, indications are things are under control and there's going to be a limited number of cases. It's just that New South Wales in particular has a huge number of unknowns, as in there were multiple potential super spreader events before people really realized how serious the outbreak was. So, yeah, while things honestly look okay now, there's a huge asterisk next to that. You want to wait and see what happens in the next 2 weeks before putting your guard down, I think. Fucking hell, I've said this before. I'm just surrounded by exposure locations. There's not a lot of cases in my general area, but there's a lot of potential exposure locations, shopping centers, and whatnot. Musical Aviator, one COVID case may well have driven through Orange and Nyngan. I didn't hear that specifically. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. So it's just that one right saying heard rumors of Trump fleeing to Russia, doing a Snowden. Yeah, it's complicated because constitutionally the president can't just fuck off. But we don't know. Safa, Gladys should have locked down Sydney 2 weeks ago. We'll wait and see if the halfway measures were enough. Like at the moment, maybe. Like I said, we need about 2 more weeks of results to have confidence in where things are. So we'll see. Nobody, greetings and salutations to you, sir. I was having a look. Don't read too much into stories about variants and mutations and whatnot. All flu viruses do mutate, and I just note that since like May last year, people have kept going on about mutations and variations, and it has not been a significant factor up to now. That doesn't mean it won't be. That doesn't, like, pretty much the worst case scenario is a variation or mutation that is just as infectious and dangerous, if not more so, but is different enough that developed vaccines don't work on it. That isn't very likely, but it's possible, and that's basically a worst case scenario. Okay, it's not okay. I'm getting good at worst case scenarios. It's not literally a worst case scenario. A worst case scenario is an with hospitals all around the world, not everywhere, like not in Australia, but in so many parts of the world, with hospitals either right at the point of being overwhelmed or already overwhelmed by COVID cases. The worst case scenario would be a completely different and even worse pandemic breaking out. Wouldn't have to be a flu pandemic, could be another disease. Flu is the most likely, but a completely unrelated one that was more infectious and or higher fatality rate, with systems already at breaking point. We could be super lucky. It might be another 100 years before we get another pandemic on this scale. There could be one next month. We don't fucking know, basically. So, yeah. Safa, I think generally in country areas, no one wants to wear a mask. That was my experience just going out past Geelong. Raiders, I did not say that, but I agree with you. Huge queues in Florida for the vaccine is a hypocrisy, I suppose, but it's a big fucking state. It's got a huge population. The dickheads might not be lining up for the vaccine because a lot of them are real fucking paranoid about it and talk ridiculous shit about it. Hey, Stella. The thing about there's suggestions that the mutation that was first seen or first identified in the UK may be much more infectious with children. But we don't know yet. We don't know. But yes, given that, like I said, people have been going on about mutations since at least May last year, I'm not putting too much weight on it. A complication, always possible, absolutely always possible. But I'm not going to freak out worrying about it before we have any sort of conclusive evidence that something's gone to shit. So, yeah. I saw some more projections out of the US today, and I feel like the people who put them out thought it was a very sober projection. And I was like, it's nowhere near a worst case projection. I don't even think what they put was the most likely. Like, they were going on about, the US could, before you get widespread efficacy from vaccine, the US could be over 500,000 cases and, peaking at, 500,000 deaths and peaking at 5,000 deaths a day. And I was going like, you fucking wish. You might be right, but that honestly, based on what's been happening, that leans towards wishful thinking from my view. Doesn't mean it won't get worse than that, but I thought, Jesus, whoever put that together is a little bit optimistic. And I'm sure some people see the numbers and go, oh no, that'll never happen, because it's quite freaky, the degree of denial in Americans. But again, we'll see. We'll see what's happening, because it's just going to get fucking worse. The absolute most optimistic projection is things start to turn around in the US in March or April, and it just gets worse until then. And that's not fucking good. So Shieldsy, on the plus side, you had a nice neighbor come help you mow your overgrown lawn after seeing you struggle to mow it. That is a nice neighbor act. I like that. That is, in fact, a good thing to hear. How big is your lawn? Do you need a tractor, or is it just like, push mower sort of thing? So if you're saying South Africa banned buying booze, that's a sure way to incite revolution, as far as I'm concerned. Just what I thought was funny, like even when Victorian Melbourne lockdowns were getting to their harshest point, the Andrews government never considered forcing the bottle shops to close. It's just like, I'm sure it came up in meetings, and the answer was just like, fuck no, that is one piece of hassle we do not need. That would really cause a revolution in the streets. You hate school holidays more. You have to depart early, go on a ferry, people still not using masks. Yeah, that does suck. Oh, well. So, yeah, I guess this sudden scare with this shit starting in New South Wales, it's just like, I feel like we're being punished for our hubris, because we had a month or two, no cases, we're clear, woohoo! And then almost definitely, because I don't see where else it happened from, almost definitely because of a lapse in border control, as in someone who was given an exemption for quarantine and was supposed to isolate at home fucking didn't, and they were infectious, and they just wandered around the shops and shit and infected other people. It's weird and troubling. Oh, sorry, God, the fucking penny dropped. Shizzy, when you wrote 800 square meters after the school holidays thing, I didn't know, but that's in reference to me asking how big your lawn is. Yeah, that's a lot of lawn. Right, this is Gladys in Hawaii, just because it's what liberal leaders do when there's shit going down. I don't know what she's doing. Yeah, still, I'm not full on blaming Gladys yet. It's just not knowing exactly the source, or us not being told the likely source of it. I mean, again, logic just suggests it was someone who was given an exemption, so they didn't have to go into quarantine. And it was like, be good and stay at home for 2 weeks. Get tested if you have symptoms. And the fuckers didn't stay at home, and they, went out to clubs or shops and shit and infected other people. That's like almost definitely what happened. Whether it was flight crew or a diplomat or, an important person who got an exemption, it's almost definite that's what happened. And you're going to have to take a good hard fucking look at who you grant exemptions to, because there are a lot of fucking stories of how widely exemptions are given, and might not be a good idea. Just throwing it out there, might not be a good idea. Raiders, Deputy Premier, that's Baralara, yeah? The definitely not a criminal dude. Definitely would stand up to scrutiny from, we'll say, an independent commission against corruption. He'd be absolutely fine if he was closely investigated. Nobody heard of hashtag koala killer? Your brother and you calling Clara's very ugly. Yeah, she's ugly all the way through. The surface is the least of it. I still don't get how she was shagging a dude who was done for corruption and didn't see the problem with carrying on the relationship after his corruption was exposed. That absolutely, the sense of entitlement that would make someone do that absolutely does my head in. Really does. This and this is, I'm not going to limit this to conservative politicians. It's politicians across the spectrum. You see so many examples of it. They're just absolutely detached from the world that most of us live in. We're going randomly with the bin chicken, big bad ads. Exactly, Stella. How the fuck is she still premier after that? That absolutely does my head in. That is one of the worst bits of judgment, worst bits of behaviour I've ever seen from an Australian political leader. It's just like, did you what? You're just going to keep fucking the person who's been exposed for corruption? What? It's just fucking what? It's just, what can you say? Except, just like jaw drop, hit the floor sort of shit. Stella, speaking of Star Trek, Macca's paper straws taste weird. I have not been to a Macca's in so long. I would not have an idea what their paper straws taste like. I think the paper straws would struggle with their fucking thick shakes. That would be a real challenge. That was like the only thing I used to get from McDonald's, the thick shakes. I remember doing meetups with people in the city and sort of hanging out in Melbourne Central, and there's a food court there. I would sometimes get a McDonald's thick shake. Just for something to do. Another thing I mentioned in a live stream the other night was earlier this week was the anniversary of a drinking straw being patented. So, trivia, I love it. So come here. Look, I'm gonna drink some of this. It's one of my milk clarified concoctions. I think this one's mainly fruit juice. Has some vodka in it and some fruit liqueur, but I think it's at least 50% fruit juice. So it's comparatively low ABV. Like if I were to guess, it's more alcoholic than, say, wine, but for a cocktail, I think it's probably only about 10%, maybe up to 15% alcohol. So more alcoholic than wine or beer, but for a cocktail, that's quite low ABV. This one, on the other hand, is mostly booze. This is gin, but then there's lower alcohol gin and vermouth. I forgot the word vermouth for a second there. And this is probably at least twice the alcohol content of that, essentially. Somewhere between 20 to 25%. Still, your stress eating. Mac is getting smashed. Frappe is keeping you going. And the paper straws are terrible for the thick milk drinks. That makes sense. Raiders, corruption does seem somewhat of a prerequisite for New South Wales Liberals or New South Wales politics generally. So I've cited before the person who got organised crime entrenched in New South Wales politics was the Liberal Premier Askin in the 70s, shamelessly associating with mobsters, going to opening night parties of illegal casinos in King's Cross. But then it was turned into a machine by Nifty Neville Ran. Yeah, it's just been like hand in hand with mobsters since the 70s. I actually saw that Raiders ASIO red flagging a Chinese national donor to the Liberal Party, and is it Gladys Liu declining to talk about any relationship she has with this person who's been red flagged by ASIO? Dun, dun, dun. Shieldsy. Yeah. Yeah, weirdos in Australia who support Trump and do the dumb crap saying like they don't have to wear masks and I don't want to stay in quarantine and I'm going to have big parties and shit. People, hey? What a bunch of bastards. All of them. All of them. Bloody hell. Why did I bookmark the Tiny Bear Distillery? I mean, love their gear. Not sure how to do it. Ooh, the big ones are that the summer sample pack I have. The Christmas Pud, the Ginger Beer, and the Australian Summer. The Christmas Pud is a good one. It definitely tastes like Christmas Pud. I love their little explanation, the base. Their base alcohol is sugar, kale, water, and yeast. That's their base alcohol. Then alcohol plus distillation creates vodka. And then vodka plus juniper plus other botanicals plus additional distillation, Tiny Bear Gin. So the difference between vodka and gin, and base alcohol for that matter. Stella, home drive. We will try and keep you entertained on the drive home. Well, Raiders, besides the fact it's just now become the weird talking point for conservatives around the world, anyone they don't like is a Chinese Communist Party agent. The Andrews government did cut that deal with the Chinese construction firm that the federal government didn't want them to. And I don't really know what's behind that on either part, actually. Why the federal government was so down on it and why the Andrews government was so into the deal. Shieldsy, that's a real low bar, mate. Australia's government's still smarter than the USA government. That is minimum level of competence right there. And it's going to be fascinating to see what happens in the changeover. Is the US going to improve at all? Or is it going to keep being a shit show? Is it going to get worse? Who fucking knows? No, but isn't it true we have an actual member of the Communist Party, China government? Was it one of the ministers or something? I don't know. Maybe Google it? I don't know. I know there's a widely held belief that agents of the CCP are very, very actively currying favour in politics and business in Australia, and it raises questions about the honour or lack thereof of their motivations. Yeah, no, but I remember there was talk and there was back and forth, but I don't remember if there was something specific. I mean, it was like little dickhead who thankfully has kind of faded. He was trying to be a social media star. Labor guy who actually had to resign because he was taking money from Chinese donors and not declaring it. Yeah, Raiders. I agree. Trump supporters saying ban China. It's an hilarious concept. The degree to which their lives would fall apart, and in fact, their economy would absolutely, definitely, 100% crash if there was no trade back or forth between the US and China, would be absolutely disastrous. Honestly, you could make an argument, though, long term, potentially not the worst thing ever, but short, medium term, and by medium term I mean decades, would be absolutely disastrous for the US. No government would do it because of the fucking havoc it would wreak. There's been incidents with both Liberal Party and Labor Party people having questionable ties to China, and I think there were some more blatant ones in the Liberal Party. I mean, like Gladys Liu's name keeps coming up. There is such an aura of dodginess around her. Yeah, Raiders, even from Australia's perspective, banning any trade back and forth between Australia and China would, short to medium term, be catastrophic. But you could make an argument of longer term benefits. So I wouldn't say ban all trade. I would say stop being fucking dickheads about offshoring everything, and stop the flood of cheap shit, not just from China, from other parts of the world. And again, no government is going to learn the actual real lessons of this pandemic. One is, and it's just there in great big fucking neon letters, you cannot afford to offshore everything. Just so a tiny number of capitalist fucks can own a third mega yacht, you cannot do the cost cutting to offshore fucking everything, because there is too high a risk of a catastrophic cut to supply chain with overseas stuff. And if you are 100% dependent on overseas supply, you're fucked real quick. And Australia's definitely in that position. The second big lesson governments will not learn, will not act on, is that insecure work, casual work, the gig economy, is fucking toxic, and not just to individual humans. My concern is it's cruel and evil to people, moving people from permanent employment with all the attendant benefits to a contracted and casual and new gig economy bullshit. It is fucking vile to do to people, but it's not sustainable from a capitalist economy point of view. We've seen starkly how things fucking fall apart with the slightest bit of pressure. If you want to be resilient to a future that's going to have a succession of devastating challenges that are definitely going to make this pandemic look like a walk in the park, you need a local manufacturing economy. You need the overwhelming majority of your workforce in secure and stable work, and that's like just to be basically decent to your fucking citizens, and fuck the rich cunts who want to just rip every micron of profit they can out of this country and then put it in offshore tax havens. That's, again, first and foremost, it's just a horrible thing to do to people. But second, we've got absolute black and white evidence. This is not sustainable in terms of a capitalist economy. If you don't give the people who produce stability, everything's just like a house of cards waiting for a stiff breeze to blow it over. And no fucking Western government is going to latch on to those two key things, and it's just fucked. That's a good one, Shieldsy. North Korea hasn't been in the headlines for almost 2 months. We got other shit to worry about. Oh, yes. Raiders. That is another interesting thing with the Trump supporters' China hate. Mitch McConnell's wife, I'm not sure if she's Chinese born or of Chinese descent, but I do notice like hardcore freakazoid Trump supporters abusing McConnell, calling him a collaborator because of his wife's ethnicity. So it's pretty fucking strange. So, yeah, we live in strange times, is all it comes down to. Yep, nobody. Universal basic income is an idea worth exploring. Here's another one that's worth exploring. This is not such a big problem in Australia, but it is a problem. But it's a chronic problem in America. And I think it's a bigger problem in the UK than it is here. A company cannot be making massive profits. And, you know, your billionaires, your Bezos and the other fucking vampires can't be making their billions and billions of dollars if their business relies on people living below the poverty line. That's just like, that should be rule number one. There should be much more control over what these fucking companies do. And it's just like, oh, okay, you're announcing X trillion dollars profit. Cool. I note you've got all these people working in shit conditions. I tell you what, before any shareholders get any profit, that's funneled back into paying the people who make this company exist. It goes back to paying them a living wage. Okay? It's as simple as that. And for that matter, do you know how many companies turn a blind eye to actual slavery in their supply chain? And it might not be technically chattel slavery, although in some parts of the world it is. There are some people who are literally owned and kept prisoner by people, and this particularly comes in with mining in some areas of the world, mining for rare earth minerals. But people who are kept in conditions that are real hard to discern from slavery because they are literally kept locked up. They are not paid enough to ever escape from this situation that they find themselves in. And so many companies know for a fact the only reason they're making all their profits is there are conditions that we may as well call slavery in their supply chain. And how the fuck they're not in prison is beyond me. Yeah, it's just, but yes, the idea, and this is a big thing in the US, people having to work multiple jobs and still being in poverty, basically. Like all those big companies, like for a start, literally fucking ban Uber, ban all those, and I know get some blowback on this, ban all those food delivery services and whatnot. This casualization, if this just literally kills people. Like you get people who work for those big things like Walmart, and they're paid so badly, they're also on state welfare. And it's like, fuck no. You know, we've got to strike a minimum conditions thing and stop outsourcing your staffing so you don't have any responsibility. Like, you want to run a business, you take responsibility for your staff, you fucking pieces of shit. You know, the way these fuckers continue, the jokes about, you know, guillotines in the town square fucking won't be jokes forever. I mean, that's what history tells us. You can only have this level of disparity of wealth for so long before the system collapses and there is a very violent uprising. That's just historical precedent shows us that anytime things have got as bad as they're getting now, it's ended very badly. Yep, Raiders, Uber not treating staff as legal employees. It's not just Uber; they're a very obvious circumstance. But there's so many cases, the casualization of workforces, again, not giving people even basic rights as employees. It's just like, no, today is actually, I always look up what's today the anniversary of when I do live streams. Today is the anniversary of, in 1914, the Ford Motor Company set work conditions for an 8-hour day, and it was $4 or $5 a day minimum wage. And I looked up with an inflation calculator. It's the equivalent of $130 a day now. And there are certainly a fuck ton of Americans working who get less that a day. And that also had room for bonuses. It had all the perks, like an 8-hour day, holidays, and scope for bonuses. So what's that, like $130 a day, so $650 a week. There are a fuck ton of Americans who would be in a much better state if their job that they work in full time paid them $130 a day. And that was from Henry Ford, uber capitalist, borderline fascist, actual admirer of Hitler. Henry Ford was firmly of the opinion, for capitalism to work, you have to pay your workers a living wage. Else, how the fuck do they buy products? If you are grinding your workers into the dust, how the fuck do they buy products and make the economy go? Maybe he didn't want to actually brutally exploit people. I don't know. I have not read up that much on Henry Ford. I've read enough to know that he was doing this on a purely capitalist basis. He was very much of the opinion, you've got to pay people a living wage. They can't be in poverty because then they don't buy things and keep the economy going. They, everything goes to shit. You want capitalism, you have to pay people enough for capitalism to happen. And these days, we're just full of evil fucks who find every way they can to screw people over. So what are you going to do? What I'm going to do, I'm going to have a drink. He said that was mostly fruit juice. I'm going to use some of my special ice because I noticed I hadn't been using my Magic Clear ice and it started to evaporate. Have you ever noticed that? If you leave ice in the freezer for a long time, it shrinks. And I did read the science of that at some point because it doesn't seem to make sense. It's a freezer. How does it evaporate? It's got something. Okay. You know what? I'm going to look it up. Why does ice shrink in the freezer? That auto completed. Ice cubes shrink when left in the freezer for a long time because of the process of sublimation. That's it. This occurs when a solid mass changes directly into gas. The water molecules on the surface of the ice join the water molecules in the air surrounding it. So the ice doesn't melt, it sublimates. It starts to lose mass going directly to gas. Fucking science, man. Fucking science. All right. Let me get my ice. Oh, my knees. Oh, I'm so old. Limp across the room. Get one of my magic pieces of ice that are shrinking. So I might as well use them to make my drink look nice. Put that in there. And pour that on there. And ice goes invisible because I probably should have let it temper for a bit. So I just had it cracking when I did that. See, look, invisible ice. Just floating like an iceberg now. Good point, nobody. Frost-free fridges, older style fridges that don't dry the air, don't shrink the ice. But, you know, what are you going to do? I did see that as well, Raiders. Trump supporters had to be reminded of the illegality of carrying firearms within a certain distance of the capital, and also actually within free speech events. So in other words, you are not allowed to have firearms at rallies. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen there? Somewhere between nothing and something absolutely terrible. Shieldsy, in the 80s, family six was living on $200 a week. Downside of being a farming family is living paycheck to paycheck. Yes, and being dependent on harvest the whole year, sort of depending on that. All right, I just really like my invisible ice. So, but we learned a bit of science tonight. Ice shrinks because of sublimation. Oh, yes, this actually mentions the frost-free freezer as well. In the frost-free freezer, the air is less than saturated with moisture to prevent icing. Therefore, water has room to move. So water molecules in the air in the freezer bond with water molecules on the surface of the ice over a long enough time, the ice starts to shrink. Trivia and science, we are learning. Yeah, Raiders, I think the law about the guns is specifically in DC, which is really fucking cheeky of the politicians going, we don't want you waving guns around where we are. Fuck those people. Ooh, what's that taste like? Very much of the pineapple juice. Maybe a little bit of the banana as well. It tastes tropical. This is like tropical juice. It doesn't taste remotely of alcohol. Like I said, it's not that much alcohol in it. Maybe as low as 10%, somewhere between 10 and 15%, which is not much for a cocktail. That is quite pleasant. Yeah, that makes sense as well, Raiders. In DC, no drones or remote control planes. Post 9/11. Yeah, so it will be interesting. Like, I wonder what sort of orders the DC cops are going to be under to, like, if the, let's face it, a huge number of the people who are going pro-Trump, this thing in DC, you know, like the Proud Boys, who are just a violent right-wing gang, and a few of the other ones, you know, their ideology is basically impossible to discern from fascism, and they have a lot of sort of pro-Nazi talk on their forums, and yeah, what are the cops going to do? And of course, there'd be anti-fascist counter protesters, people not wanting to let fascists have the run of the street. Because what we have seen before, if fascists are given a free run of the street, they will just start assaulting people that they decide are their enemy if there's no sort of counterforce to confront them, they will just start attacking people. Annette, I am in fact in a robe. It's one of those days. I had quite a late shower. I mean, like 4 o'clock or something. I thought, I am not putting clothes on. I'm just putting my robe back on. So it's one of those sorts of evenings. Oh, yeah, and I saw that as well, Raiders. The head of the Proud Boys got arrested, and I bet he doesn't get... Well, I'm not sure what they can do about not giving him bail, because at the recent sort of fascist rampage in DC, they vandalized, I think, more than one church, but at least one church, ripped down this Black Lives Matter sign and set it on fire. And that particular asshole person who's designated the head of the Proud Boys publicly said he did it. And let's see what happens. He's go, well, he gotten arrested for, again, I don't know what they can charge him with beyond vandalism, which doesn't seem that extreme. But it seems like it's an attempt to take him out of the equation in the lead up to these protests. But, who fucking knows? He might be out in the streets already. Yes. And I'm wearing, my beach pants, pajama pants, the very loose fitting and light pants. So, but yes, I decided not to get particularly dressed. Seemed like a waste of time, but I'm sure you'll all be pleased to know I did actually have a shower. I freshened up, and I feel pretty and witty and gay. And so, what are we doing? I didn't see that, Raiders. The Proud Boy fuckhead, if he was actually found with high-powered magazines loaded, he could well be in some deep shit. That actually sounds potentially felony type. Oh, I've got to look this up now. I've got to look. What's the latest news on that piece of shit? Proud Boy arrest. Norikiterio. So, BBC reporting on him. Yeah, it's saying he's misdemeanor destruction of property charges. So, being stopped in a vehicle, found during his arrest to be in unlawful possession of 2 devices that allow guns to hold additional bullets. So I don't know if there's charges, because I don't know. They might be legal. Because he wasn't actually at a protest or at the Capitol when they arrested him. But yeah, let's see. Who knows what is going to happen there? Who knows indeed? Because misdemeanor, Annette going on the wagon again. Good idea. Good move. Good move. We had a pretty decadent New Year's Eve. Taking breaks from the drinkies is a good idea. I mean, I certainly tried to go at least a couple of days a week without drinking the alcohol. As I said before, I found at early in the pandemic, early in doing these regular live streams, I realized I was drinking too much and cut way back. Like now, I'm drinking way less than half as much as I was at the early part of the pandemic, like about May, somewhere around there. I mean, I didn't like mark it down in a calendar, but certainly for the first couple of months of sort of at least semi lockdown, and you're getting cocktail belly. It's the sugar, Annette. That's what it's about. Got to watch out for the sugar. Raiders haven't had a drink this year. That's good. 5 days. That's pretty good. That's a good break. So, I think half of people paid rum back in the day. There's all sorts of talk about when that happened. People being paid. I mean, the British Royal Navy, they got a rum tot. They had a daily allowance of rum that only got terminated in about 1970, like relatively recently. And at its height, like they were being given at least half a pint of rum a day, like, which is enough to be fucking drunk all day. Like the biggest allowance they were ever given was, I suppose, it's like you wouldn't be drinking while you were actually on deck, but when you get to off duty, you'd just be fucking hammered. So I'm sure it was half. We're going to look it up. We're on the internet. We're going to look it up. Put rum pot. Rum ration. Abolished in 1970. Was from 1850 to 1970. Okay. This is different to what I've heard. I thought it changed over the years. They're saying it was 71 mils of like basically 100 proof rum. That's way less than I thought they were given at one point. They're saying only one. That's like only 2 shots. I thought they were actually given much more than that at one point. Sailor's ration of alcohol was originally... maybe this is where I got confused. They were originally given a ration of beer that was 1 gallon, 8 fucking pints of beer. Jesus. Substitute by a pint of wine. No, this is right. Half a pint of spirits. Yeah, they were at some point given half a pint of spirits. So there you go. So they used to get a ration, one at 10 a.m. and between 10 a.m. and noon, and the other between 4 and 6 p.m. Then they used to get lemon or lime added to it to prevent scurvy. There you go. It was cut in half in 1823 and again in half in 1850. Right, I can say it was prior to 1850, they used to get half a pint of alcohol. I knew I'd read that. From 1850 on, it was only 1/8. There we go. Okay. Yes, Annette, it's this. I think that's a Churchill quote. The Royal Navy was the tradition of rum, sodomy, and the lash. The name of a particularly good Pogues album, actually. So would I drink less if I was back to drinking? If I wasn't doing these live streams, I'd be drinking less because it's just like I'm socializing. Yeah. That did not have much alcohol in it. A little bit. I'm just going by how it made me feel. Yeah, that was not a lot of alcohol in that. But, okay. I'm going to try this one now because I haven't had a proper taste of this one. This one's a gin and red vermouth, which is why it's so red. There's my cherry gin in it too. Is that a little taste of it? I thought it tasted like a gin martini, basically. The strength of the edge had been taken off the vermouth. Hey, looks really different on screen. It's much darker than in real life, but anyway. Russian Soul question: do I think Hayao Miyazaki's Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind manga is important for understanding this fictional universe? No idea. It's not a question I've ever explored. It's and that is one that I am least familiar with as well. I have watched Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind, but and if you're talking about manga, if there's a manga, I haven't read it. I've seen the anime, but yeah, of the Miyazaki films, that's possibly. There's a couple of the early ones that I'm not very familiar with. Things like Porco Rosso and Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind. Nobody for health reasons, you've resolved to limit drinking to Fridays. Limit how many drinks? Yeah, as a general rule, as you say, it might be different. They might drink on other days. But that's a good general rule to set for yourself. So, I mean, like I said, in the early days of the COVID, in the early days of these live streams, I was getting pretty drunk every time I did a live stream. And I now try to limit that once or maybe twice a week. Raiders with the dickhead with the magazines. Those are actually banned in DC. Yeah, that's on any news I saw hasn't been addressed. Maybe. Maybe there's something on Twitter. Let's go, same search. Proud Boys arrest. See what comes up on Twitter. Yeah, Washington Post says he was carrying high-capacity magazines. So from the Washington Post, destruction of property. He was charged. He was charged with 2 counts of possession of high-capacity ammunition feeding devices, which is a legal term for firearms magazine that allows gun to hold additional bullets. Yeah, see, if you got charged with that, that's much more serious. Probably a hate crime charge is minor compared to a firearms charge. So, God, and I also love the thing of saying, Proud Boys aren't white supremacists. Look, the leader's not white, he's Hispanic. Fun fact, the head of Hitler's brown shirts was an incredibly flamboyant homosexual man. And some people did use that as a thing, saying, see, the Nazis weren't intolerant. The leader of his violent street gang that ran around beating and murdering people was actually gay. Yeah, it was, for whatever reason, tolerated for a while. and was used as a see, we're kind of tolerant. As they seized power, and then once they were in power, among the people they murdered en masse were gay people. And this guy did actually get murdered on the night of the Long Knives, where Hitler murdered all the people on his staff that he thought were against him. So saying the Proud Boys, I was going to say the White Boys, saying the Proud Boys are not a group that explicitly promotes white supremacist agendas because, look, they've got people who aren't white in there, is the same as saying the Nazis didn't persecute gays. The head of the brown shirts was gay. Fascists have a long history of doing window dressing to deflect from the worst of their agenda. No, look, we're nice to women. We're nice to people who aren't. Look, we've had a Jewish person do this, and then, the murdering starts. There's so much of what the Proud Boys do that is impossible to discern from the traditional white supremacists, neo-Nazi fascist groups. And yeah, this whole thing of saying like, oh, look, there's people in the Proud Boys who aren't white. There is a very long history of fascist groups doing that. It's absolutely meaningless bit of misdirection. See if there's any more news on what's gonna happen. Don't think there is I don't think there's any update post his arrest, just that the confirmation is he was charged because of those high-capacity magazines. Okay. Would seem like their intention may be to keep him away from the actual protest. Good morning, Abigail. Yeah, Raiders. It's the sum of my best friends are black defense. This one's interesting. This is very much a gin drink, this one. The gin flavors aren't particularly fierce, but it's very juniper. Slightly fruity and slightly juniper. And now, have we already covered the recording of Trump's threatening to the Georgia government? Haven't really talked about that, but it is pretty funny if anyone missed it. Trump called the Florida governor basically demanding he invents more votes for Trump. Georgia, not Florida. Basically demanding that he discovers more votes for Trump so Trump can get the Electoral College votes for Georgia. And the governor and his aides just basically told Trump, that's not real. It's not happening. And then Trump publicly said stupid shit and lied. And the governor's they've just made it public. And it's just like, they've just gone, no, if you're going to talk shit about me, I'm going to release the actual tape. And so I think it's the Washington Post got the full tape, and it's not good. It's clearly criminal. Just add it to the fucking list. Like, it's not going to have any immediate effect on Trump, but just add it to the list of his flagrant criminal behavior, basically. Yes, another fun story today was Julian Assange. UK judge rejecting the US request to extradite him, saying it's for Assange's safety. I think they said suicide risk, but UK judge said no to having Assange extradited to the US. The US can appeal if they want to. I guess we wait and see. So whenever the subject of Assange comes up, I'd like to say it's really important. Two sort of different things can be true at the same time. Like, Julian Assange is a horrible, nasty piece of shit, and he lost any credibility years ago and just became a really bitter, nasty partisan hack. And the prosecution for the publication of these secrets is a really scary overreach of government power. So, yeah, yeah, I mean, I think both are true. I think Assange is a piece of shit. I think he got a God complex a very long time ago because all these people were telling him he was God. I think he behaved like an absolute piece of shit. Any pretense of WikiLeaks being neutral was abandoned ages ago. Assange is just a bitter partisan hack. And also, the way he's being pursued by governments is a horrible, evil, creepy government overreach. But hey, Abigail, does the UK decision mean he can come here and be extradited from here instead? He would want to be very careful about coming to Australia. I'm not sure it's even released him from custody in the UK. It's just they're not extraditing him to the US. He would not really be well advised to come to Australia because I think the Australian authorities would sell him out in a fucking heartbeat. Yeah, exactly, Raiders. Assange actively supported the Trump campaign threw any idea of impartiality out the window, actively supported Trump. And yeah, he's a piece of shit. But also, yes, it's horrible and creepy the way governments around the world aggressively try and destroy people who expose their bad behavior. It's like the worst crime you can commit in the world these days is to embarrass a government. Like, they will fuck you up. If again, it's like you're telling the truth. You're going, oh no, they did this. Here's the evidence. They did this. Here's the evidence. They did this. You embarrass a government and they will expend a huge amount of energy in fucking you up. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really think the fucking it's not just the US. It's other governments. So the US are the worst and the biggest bully boys, but the Australian government is fucking terrible for persecuting whistleblowers, people who tell the truth, and they go, "Oh no, you embarrassed us. Fuck you. We're going to fuck you up." Oh yeah, and I think whether he's a good boy or not is irrelevant to the evil of the US government and the gross overreach of trying to prosecute him. That's what I think. I think it's important to maintain those two things can both be true. Assange is a piece of shit, and the way the US government in particular is pursuing him is immoral, creepy, and gross. Raiders, Trump will pardon Assange because he can implicate Don Jr. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? What's the time? 9:14. You know what? I think I want to nibble on a corn chip. Some corn chips over here. And I'm just slightly peckish. I just want a corn chip. That's some chicken for dinner, which was nice. All right. I'm also intrigued as to what this drink will taste like with a corn chip. Anyway. So for how less evil is Labour in regards to LNP? Depends what you're talking about, I think. Like, I don't know what Labor's official position is just on the whistleblower question. I don't know what Labor's official position is on some really fucked things the current federal government is doing with persecuting whistleblowers. What's the case called? Witness X. Basically, someone who ratted out the government for spying on the East Timorese government when they were doing negotiations about mineral and gas rights to fuck over the East Timorese. They're really punishing the guy who blew the whistle on that. See if I can find it. Witness K. I should be. Well, it's got a Wikipedia page. The Australian East Timor spying scandal began in 2004 when ASIS planted listening devices next to the Prime Minister's office in Dili to ensure Australia had the upper hand in negotiations over the rich oil and gas fields. First Prime Minister of East Timor bluntly accused the Howard government. Timor-Leste loses $1 million a day due to Australia's unlawful exploitation of resources in the disputed areas. Timor-Leste cannot be deprived of its rights or territory because of a crime. Alexander Downer replied, I think they've made a very big mistake, thinking the best way to handle the negotiation is trying to shame Australia, mounting abuse on our country, accusing us of being bullying rich and so on, when you consider all we've done for East Timor. Witness K is a former senior ASIS intelligence officer who led the bugging operation. When Prime Minister Zenana Guzmão found out about the bugging, told Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard that he knew of the operation, wanted the treaty invalidated as a breach of good faith that occurred. Gillard did not agree to invalidate the treaty. So when espionage became known, East Timor rejected the Timor Sea Treaty, referred the matter to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Timor's lawyers, including Bernard Collery, intended to call Witness K as a confidential witness, but in December 2013, the home and office of both Witness K and his lawyer, Bernard Collery, were raided and searched by ASIO and Australian Federal Police. International Court of Justice ordered Australia to stop spying on East Timor. Court of Arbitration considered claims over East Timor. East Timor dropped the case after the Australian government agreed to renegotiate. The identity of Witness K is being kept secret. Any person in breach of this could face prosecution. Director of June 2018, DPP filed criminal charges against Witness K and the lawyer, Bernard Collery, under the National Security Information Act. So it's all being held in check. So basically, the government was deeply embarrassed by how fucking corrupt they were. And So if the Libs have grey morality, the Libs have black morality. The spying was ordered by the Howard government. It was not particularly denounced by the Gillard government, and the aggressive prosecution has been since the Libs have been back in government. Nice. Abigail, your lad is coming back home with a big block of dirt with an ant nest embedded in it. Fabulous. Fabulous. The High Court case was held in camera, aka in secret, till a smart Canberra journalist figured it out. Yeah, so it is basically, it's pretty disgusting in my opinion. The government was embarrassed when their really fucked behaviour was exposed, and now they're just going hell for leather in punishment mode. How dare you? How dare you make us look bad? You weren't allowed to tell anyone that we were illegally spying on them. These are just cheese corn chips, by the way. Yes, I agree with Annette, Abigail. I hope they're not bitey ants. Do you know, like, what's the containment of this lump of dirt with the ant colony in it? What's the chances of them getting out? I do not want to think about that at the moment. Okay, so he does have a tank for the ants. Fair enough. Stella, nice to know you made it home alive. That is indeed positive news. Very interesting. I think this one's kind of changed flavour from when I tasted it the other day. It's maybe a bit more bitter than it was the other day. Anyway, I like a bit of variation in my drinks. I don't mind if it's occasionally got a little bit. I don't like super bitter, like Campari is fucking gross. And there are lots of cocktails and popular cocktails that have Campari in them. And I'm like, ew, yuck, gross Campari. That is way too bitter. But ones like this just tastes like fruit juice. They're fun to have occasionally. But and I like doing stuff like with whiskey and rum. And, just fucking doing it. Variety, I think, is the spice of life. My favorite sort of cocktail is one that has more than one flavor when you drink it. It's like as you drink it, you get multiple flavors. So this one's like up front, it's kind of fruity, which I think is coming from the vermouth that's in it. And then you get, because it's very much a gin drink, that one. So you're getting the gin botanical flavors. And then like gin, because gin is an at least slightly bitter drink, the sort of last taste is just a little bit of bitterness. So not bad at all. Probably not my favorite. In fact, realistically, I probably preferred this one. This is the one that just tastes like fruit juice. But there is not much. There is more alcohol in the, like twice as much alcohol in the second one. As if when I had a drink of the first one, I'm going like, I can just feel the vaguest alcohol effect, just the slightest buzz. So there's not much. Having had this drink almost all gone, much more of the alcohol buzz going on. Again, hardly drunk. Probably shouldn't drive a car now. I always like to err on the side of caution with things like that. So shouldn't drive, not that I'm going anywhere at 9:30 at night. I'm kind of avoiding going places generally at the moment. As I said at the start of the stream, because of the amount of exposure sites in the suburbs surrounding me. Safa, no one should ever drink and drive. Still, have we heard from AZ hoping he's what card reading for 2021 happened? Have not actually heard from AZ since New Year's Eve. So, that's going to be 5 days. I might actually text him tomorrow and see what's happening, because I don't like to disturb him because his sleep patterns are so fucked up. I always think I'm going to text or call just at the first time he's slept in the last 3 days and break his sleep. But I think 5 days is probably enough to not hear from him. So I might text him tomorrow and see if I can find out what's going on. Erica saying hi before bed. Thank you for dropping in and saying hello. That is very nice to hear from you. Yeah, that's exactly my thinking, Musical Elevator. Although he doesn't have his phone on buzz, like you always hear the really quite loud noise in the live stream if someone texts him. So I don't think it's buzz. Abigail, I have Boss of the House's number and he has mine, and Boss of the House was staying with AZ, so I'm fairly confident. If anything was actually wrong, I would have got a message by now, or I would have got a call by now. I think it's just the thing with AZ not being particularly aware of the passage of time. Still, AZ did a card reading similar to tarot, was saying he'd have bad health. You don't need cards to... And that's the unfortunate truth. You don't need cards to tell you AZ is going to have bad health. He has severe, permanent, worsening, chronic health conditions. They're not getting better. None of them are getting better. They're only getting worse. That's just the unfortunate, ugly truth of it. And Hellion, hello, Kirsten. Nice to see you. I've been drinking. I milk clarified a cocktail I made with the Anther Cherry and Teddy and the Fox gins and some vermouth. The Unico Zello Yuzu vermouth, just covering up there, showing off a bit much. And I milk clarified it. And very, very gin drink. Very much the juniper flavor in it, with a little bitter aftertaste. Just gin, nice gin bitter, not gross fucking Campari bitter. So that's all good. So I've got these two clarified ones. I'm going to have another one tomorrow because I did the Elvis drink I made with the burning banana. I got to edit that tomorrow. Annette, you're still waiting for your Unicode delivery? What was I noticing? Was I running slightly long? No, I got a decent amount of Okar Gold. I feel like something was low enough to make me go, It's just and now I've forgotten what it was. Actually, I might want some Marionette Curacao again soon. And I might make it worth my while by... Actually, I might even go visit Marionette. It's just up the road. Do they do tastings? Oh, sorry. Just going to look at the Marionette website. Do they have a cellar door type thing? Shop. If you're here to stock up on Covenant Capital, yes. Thanks so much for supporting local producers. During this period, all orders over $120 will be shipped for free. Yay. I'm kind of tempted to try their blue curacao because it's like party drink, blue curacao, but fun, but good. As like the blue curacao I have is the fucking Vok stuff. It's like they've done blue curacao, but good. What have I got? I've got their Mur and their Cassis, which are both really good. You got a few very tempting ones: apricot and peach, amaretto. The passion fruit gin liqueur they did with Brogan's Way. Groiselle. What's Groiselle? Is that strawberry? I don't think they do. I don't think they do a Celador thing. Raiders Fruit Single Time. Maybe. And something else I was going to look at. Oh, what are the specials? Nothing very special. Just reminded me I hadn't looked at Dan Murphy's for a while. Didn't know if they had. I don't know how often they change their specials. They haven't changed his last look. Oh, word to the wise though. If you like rum at all and want to spoil yourself, it's worth becoming a Dan Murphy's member and getting the Diplomatico Reserva Exclusive rum, which is normally $105, and the member offer is $79. So that's $26 off. So it's like 25% off. And I got that just because it was on such a big special, and it's like my favorite sipping rum now. It's like just really tasty. Okay, Kirsten confirming Marinette have no cellar door. They used to do markets, which is how you got your hands on it. Okay. I think I want to go to Starwood and do a tasting. They still do the tastings, don't they? Yes, I'm of legal drinking age. Whiskey. What do they say for reservations? Opening hours: Friday 12 to 9, Saturday 12 to 7, Sunday 12 to 7. Reopening at the end of this week. Cool. Seated table service. We do a QR code. Masks, except when consumables. I definitely want to do that. I definitely want to do a Starwood tasting. Do that at some point. But yes. Maybe not. I'm going to wait like 2 weeks till I'm confident that there is no plague running wild in Melbourne. Current evidence is it probably isn't. Like, it's probably largely under control. Kirsten, you think you don't need to book for tastings? They had a booking thing on the site. They didn't say it was mandatory. They didn't say it was mandatory, but you can book, make a reservation. So yes, they don't say reservations are mandatory, but you can make reservations. Oh, fuck yeah, Kirsten, if you're coming down in 5 weeks, fuck yeah. No, let's wait. Oh my God. We do so many things. Okay. Abigail, Kirsten, Nettie, you on? Yeah, Kirsten, the border opens. I think so. The next 2 weeks are going to be kind of critical, but I think definitely by the end of January, but certainly if 2 weeks from now the numbers in New South Wales have been down consistently, I think we can then breathe a bit easier. And if it carries through to the end of January, it'll be like, ooh, crisis averted. There's just a few variables at the moment, and we won't really know the resolution of them for a couple of weeks. Nettie, do you want to go to a Starwood whiskey tasting? Might do it in 5 weeks. A little adventure. I have to work out the best way to get there because I don't want to drive there. So I want to have a couple of drinks and just err on the side of caution. Actually, that would be relatively easy to work out. Contact Bertie Street. Yes, please. View on Google Maps. Directions by PT from my home. God, that's a pain in the butt. Takes an hour and a half by public transport. What? Oh, yeah, a tram. Get a tram into the city and then swap in the city for a Port Melbourne tram. And then walk. Yeah, I could do that. I have to think about it. But get a Port Melbourne tram from the city. Oh, Safa, the YouTube meetup is on the 23rd of January and is at behind Federation Square in the park called Birrarung Ma, just past the education centre called Art Play. Very easy to find. You just get to Flinders Street Station and then go down along the Yarra behind Federation Square. Again, probably final confirmation on... I think, look, I'd say I'm 99% sure that YouTube meetup is going ahead. But the future is an unknown country, and we have to wait to be sure. But I mean, each day that goes past would give more confidence. Certainly, I think sort of 2 weeks past New Year's is like the first critical date. If we keep having very low numbers to no numbers of locally acquired cases for the next 2 weeks, then that would give mucho confidence in going ahead with the meetup. If there's a spike in cases in a week or two because of New Year's, then maybe not. I don't think that's likely. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is the case is going to stay low and go back to zero, and then I'll be all hunky-dory with doing a meetup. But trying to predict the future is a mug's game. So we'll take it as it comes, essentially. So, Kirsten, you're doing the Gin Festival. Yeah. Hey, and if the Gin Festival's on, I'd be into doing the Gin Festival as well. But we shall see what we see. Milk My Mantits, hello. You landed a job in Antarctica. Doing storeman work in a warehouse. Nice. God, that's almost 100% bonus for being away. Excellent. That's a fucking adventure. Going to Antarctica for a year. That is a fucking adventure. And you're getting paid. So, yeah. Oh, you think the gin festival might be sold out? That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Gin Festival, Melbourne, 2021. Is it Junipalooza? Junipalooza, Melbourne. So, Friday the 12th. $50. Grants you entry to Australia's favourite gin festival and direct access to the people who produce and are behind your favourite tipple. Include free samples from the gin stands and bespoke show guide. More details soon. So saying there are still tickets available for the Friday. That seems to be the only one. Friday the 12th. So it seems... Oh, wait, no, wait. There's a scroll. What a badly designed website. There are tickets for the Saturday. And there are tickets for the Sunday. Saturday 4 to 8. Sunday 11 to 4. Yeah. Right, now there are apparently tickets for all 3 days of Junipalooza. You're going to the Friday night session and Saturday. Oh, nice. Look at man, do you think you'll love Oz more when you get back? Never complain about 40. Actually, I bet you would complain. If you came back from Antarctica and it happened to be 40 degrees when you came back, I think you would complain. And I wouldn't hold it against you. So, yes, there are still tickets for the Junipalooza available. I have to ask Mrs. Angry if she wants to go, actually. She's fond of a little bit of gin. Friday night might be good. Maybe. Raiders, your mates in Tassie have worked for Antiv and say it's the best. Oh, it's the Antarctica division. Right, yes. Kirsten, Junipalooza, your favourite time of the year. There must be a song about it's the most wonderful time of the year. Think a Junipalooza song. Yeah, I just remember the last alcohol festival I went to was a cider one. And they gave us these little tickets like, oh, your ticket price means you can have this many samples. And we were going, this is a rip-off. That's not enough. And we didn't even use all the tickets. We were fucking hammered. And I don't mean falling over, vomiting drunk, but it's like, that's as drunk as I want to get because a little bit more drunk is actually falling over, vomiting drunk. And had to find our way home on public transport. So I was like, oof. But yeah, it was pretty funny going from... you have this, your ticket price entitles you to this many free samples. And I was going, God, that's a jip, that's not enough. And actually not using up all the free samples because I was pretty pissed. And I was just like, no, I've had enough. I don't want to fall over. This is fine. Ooh, I hear cats fighting outside. Weird. Because Junipalooza is Gin Lovers Christmas. I certainly think it would be quite a bit of fun, actually. Junipalooza. Yes, if I remember, we'll have to ask Mrs. Angry if she wants to go to either Junipalooza or Starwood or both. So we're talking about maybe doing a Starwood testing on the weekend of the 13th, 14th February. Sounds like fun. Right, is the new Aurora Australis icebreakers in commission too? You reckon you'd do a stint down south? Oh, I'm too much of a family man at the moment. I don't want to be away from my family for a year. When I was a young man, I might have done that sort of thing. But these days, oh God, no, my fucking knees would lock up in the cold, actually. Safa, is there a train connection from Southern Cross to Flinders? Yes, there is. They're one train station apart. City Circle. So if you come on into the city on V line, you'd have to change platforms. Might be as easy to leave Southern Cross Station, walk down to the tram stop on Flinders Street, and get a tram all the way up Flinders Street to Federation Square. Might be as easy, but yeah, it's one train stop on the City Circle, but you would have to change platforms, I imagine, from V line. So, but not that difficult to do. So, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, as opposed to difficult, lemon difficult, which is how some days feel. But yeah, I'm just trying. What's Tuesday? Tomorrow's Wednesday. Don't think I want to go to the shop tomorrow. I'm trying to minimize the amount of time I leave the house at the moment. As I said, because of the increasing number of COVID exposure sites in the general neighborhood. That is a point, Kirsten. The trams from Southern Cross to Fed Square would be free because it's in the City Circle, but the train would not be. You would need a separate ticket for a train. So that would be a double down on. Better idea is probably get off your train at Southern Cross and just get down to Flinders Street and get a tram up Flinders Street. And then Bob's Your Auntie's Live-In Lover. Easy done. And then, yeah, meet up. Who knows who the function? It's like going to be our first YouTube meetup for a fucking year. And we used to do them every month or two. I think people are going to be somewhat deprived of human contact. So there might be a few people. So we might have to spread out a bit so we're properly social distancing. But we'll see. But I think I'm going to be quite keen to wander around the city as well. Oh, that's okay, Raiders. The V-Line ticket gives you Melbourne travel as well. So that's okay. So throw that out the window. So yeah, whatever seems easier. Either get a train for one stop or get a tram. Yeah, you won't miss my head. It's pretty easy. Like I'll post a picture online. It's you go just down behind Federation Square towards the Yarra and walk away from Flinders Street Station. And it's pretty obvious. There's like a big fucking tree. There's a brick building called there's a kids playground. Then there's a brick building called Art Play, and just past that is supposed to be like this big fucking tree that we sit under. And my head should be noticeable from a distance. So all good. All good. So, and then because I miss it, might have a drinky or two in the city as well. because I have not done that for a long time. So might do that, but we shall see. So I'm just checking something on the calendar, hoping I didn't fuck it up. And I honestly think I did. I think I fucking did. But I'm not 100% sure, but I think I fucked it up. Oh well. 1 p.m. Safa, yes. Abigail, on the 23rd, organising a meetup in El City. Just a Saturday afternoon meetup. Saturday the 23rd. So that will be a thing. Gotta check, is this spam? Okay. Thumbnail bullshit. What the fuck is this? Alright, jog on, son. Jog the fuck on. And I don't even care if I make a mistake. What is the glue? Glue. Okay, weird. Well, fine and dandy. It is, so far, Musical Aviator, a very moderate Melbourne summer, although I always hesitate to say status because sometimes we get real fuck-off heat waves in February. Even if that happens, we'll have dodged the bullet for almost all of summer. But I never rule it out because we sometimes get those 40-plus degree heat waves in February, get very hot weather in March, and even warm days into April. But yes, because we have the La Nina weather pattern dominant this season, it's much wetter than average in the summer. Raiders is helping you not having to water the lawns. Bonus. But yes, that was very interesting because I was worried about, like we had such fucking horrific fires last year. So, oh God, are we going to get that again this year? It was like, no, we're going to get more rain from the issue. So it's like, oh, and then the plus side is that means lots more undergrowth that then has winter to dry out. And so next fire season might be a fucking nightmare again. We dodge a bullet this season. It may well just lead to a really fucked fire season next year or late this year. Who knows? Too many variables to know. Safa, is it green in the country? I don't fucking know. I have not been in the country. Nice, Raiders. You got a 5,000 litre tank and it's full. That is good. That is very good. Gosh, grub. In Western New South Wales, the droughts we would get, like the main water supply for where I lived was Burrendong Dam, which is near Wellington, which is not far from Dubbo. It's like at capacity, it's like 2.5 times the size of Sydney Harbour. Like it's real fucking big when it's at capacity. There's a lot of water in it. And a couple of times in my lifetime, it's got to like below 10%, which is scary as fuck when the water supply goes down that much. Oh, Kirsten, you've been in the country. It is very green. There you go. Safari is past Dubbo the outback. Fuck yes. It's desolate. You go west to Dubbo, fuck me, there is not much there. There's a couple small towns, and then it's like desert and Broken Hill eventually. Like if I look at the map, Bring up Dubbo. So, if you go follow the highway west of Dubbo, you get a few small towns like Narromine, Trangie, Ningen, Cobar, way out west, Vulcania, and then Broken Hill. Like, they're really fucking small places. But yeah, once you go like west of Cobar, you're borderline desert at that point. And then it's the big fucking empty. So if you follow the highway from Broken Hill, it'll actually take you down to Adelaide, I think. And then you do the diversion up through Port Augusta. And you can either head up towards the Northern Territory, or there's only one fucking road that takes you across to Western Australia. That's why when it gets cut off something, it's just like, well, that's it. No trucks going to Western Australia, because the only other way is to go right up to Darwin and go around the top end. That happened a year or so ago. It's a pretty major deal for road traffic if that one road gets fucked up. So if you want to drive to Uluru, from where in regional Victoria? What do you want as your starting point? I'll give you an estimate. But I was asking, how long did it take convicts to reach outside the Blue Mountains? Well, on foot or by, because you had to fucking. The Blue Mountains were a barrier for a long time. Okay, from Albury. Directions from Albury. Car drive. Fucking hell. 25 hours, man. It's 2,500 kilometers. So you want to fucking pace yourself. It honestly would not be smart to try and do that in less than 3 days, really. Doing it in 2 days would be a big risk of fatigue. Mr. Gover, you're looking to drive Brisbane to Melbourne without any crossings to the New South Wales border. Yeah, no, that goes through. Yeah, no. If you try and get tricky with driving in Australia, you're fucked. So you can cut across Uluru from the Northern Goldfields, but need fuel back up. Yeah, so I have to take the Mum's Prado. But I was looking at the map. I suppose you could do it into but it's really risking fatigue in a big way. So if we do, I think Mildura might be a good spot. No, don't details. So Albury. Take you like 6 or 7 hours to get to Mildura. I'm just having fun doing this now. Mildura. Would Port Augusta be another good spot? What the fuck? Port Augusta. Details. So it takes 6 or 7 hours to get to Mildura. No, 5 hours, 12 hours. So you would actually probably want to go, say, get across. You want to get, first day, you want to get across the South Australia border, like stop at somewhere like Renmark, just across the border. And then the next day, oh Christ, there's nowhere after fucking Port Augusta. It's like fucking Cuba Pedy. God, you would be hard fucking pressed to get any accommodation between Port Augusta and Uluru. And that's 12 hours. Jesus. Yes, there are all things to worry about on a trip like that, like an Ivan Milat or Wolf Creek episode, snakes otherwise dying, breaking down. These are all these things. Oh, fuck, sleep in the car. Okay, so Safa's going for the Wolf Creek outcome, sleeping in the car. But you could do that, yeah. But okay, if you're going to sleep in the car, I'd do it over 3 days. I would drive like 8 hours the first day, 8 hours the second day, and 8 hours the third day. I'd break it up like that. So now I want to see what your trip was, Stella. Ballarat to Ceduna. That seems like a very long way. Ballarat to Ceduna in South Australia. Okay, that's 15 hours if nothing goes wrong. See, that's risky. 15 hours driving. Yes, and a little bit of wake in fright for the classics. Jesus, Stella, Ballarat to Ceduna is not a trip I'd recommend in one day. Abigail, are there rest stops along the way? Yeah, there would be. There's little settlements. Safa's talking about sleeping in the car. But yes, there would be opportunities to stop in little towns. But yeah, you probably want to fill up in Port Augusta because there's a huge fucking unknown between Port Augusta and Uluru. Anywho, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to go to bed. Raiders, good tip, sat phone and EPA ERB. Stella, you're raised on hardcore long road trips. I can tell. I can actually tell. Anyway, I'm going to go to bed. Bid all you fine people farewell for another evening. Someone's got to stop Abigail from buying the Yeet Silda shirt. Oh, dear. Kirsten, husband and yourself once drove from Perth to Broome, 1.5 days. 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. day 1, 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. day 2. That's pretty hardcore. That is also pretty hardcore. All right. Good night, funky people. Take care of yourself. Hope to see you again soon. But I will say bye for